Welcome to Queer Next, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode.
Hola, señor. ¿Cómo está?
Bien. ¿Y tú?
Taco. That's all of the Spanish I know.
Oh.
I even know even less French. I know French, I know the word mustard, and I know j'ai envie du poulet ce soir, du poulet ce soir. Do you remember that?
You've told me that before, but I've never heard it before that. I didn't take French in high school. I took Spanish and Latin, and then I took some more Spanish when I got to college. And I know enough to perhaps navigate a slight emergency situation. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know any. I took Japanese and French, and I couldn't tell you. I remember more Japanese than I do French.
Wow. Yeah, I don't. That would be really cool. Like the non-Indo-European languages, like just a language that has absolutely nothing in common with the one that we speak. It's just so cool and fascinating.
It was really cool how they did it because it was a low-tech endeavor. It was me and my very good friend Ben. He's the guy that married me and Shanna. When I moved to Lucasville in the 6th grade, I got sat next to him, and we've been BFFs ever since. He's an attorney in Columbus. Anyway, wait, what was I telling you? I totally just lost my mind. Japanese. So it was me and Ben in Japanese class, and it was facilitated by the librarian who had no knowledge of Japanese whatsoever. So we had these like really thick books that we would get, and every day there would be an episode broadcast on TV, on satellite, and the librarian would record it, and then Ben and I would watch that during our language period. And then we had exams that we had to mail in. And then we did speaking. We would have a conference call. It was us at a little school in Louisiana. They had like 4 people. And there was a Japanese facilitator. And we would have conversations and talk. And that Japanese and Louisiana accent was really interesting. They were worse than we were. That's hillbillies. It was really cool.
Well, that's very similar to how our Latin class was. I don't believe there was a satellite component. I think it was actually VHS tapes because we went into a room and there was a facilitator who did not speak Latin, which is a school employee, and would put the tapes in or whatever they were, and a pre-recorded lesson. A woman who I swear she was an NPC. I don't think this woman existed outside of these tapes. Her name was Jane Smith. She got one haircut a year on her birthday. Like the personal details she would tell us about herself were like, "Are you made up?" And I remember like she didn't have an accent like ours, but it was a very American accent because, of course, we don't know what Latin sounds like. We know, how we know the specifics of certain phones and phonemes just from historical records, right? So we know that like the V would be pronounced with the W sound. There were no soft C's. They were all hard C's. So the word caveat is actually caveat. So there's things like that we know, but we don't know what it sounded like to be spoken because it's dead. Nobody has spoken it, So it doesn't really matter what her accent was, but it was still I remember her Cornelia East. Like everybody was named Cornelia in all of her examples.
Shanna wants to name everything Petunia.
Petunia is a good name.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Monty Python Life of Brian where a street ruffian is doing graffiti, and the guard comes up, played by John Cleese, and starts correcting his grammar and starts like conjugating it the way you have to do whenever you're doing Latin because it's so fucking complex. And so the guard like takes his like, he's got this blood red paintbrush and stuff and starts like painting on the wall, showing him how to conjugate the thing. It's so funny.
That is hilarious. They went to France when I was in high school, and God, I wanted to go on that trip, but my mom didn't have the money to send me to France. It was a couple grand to go, but several people went, and they had the time of their lives. I recently, like in the last 2 weeks, reached out to my French teacher because after Japanese 1, I decided Japanese 2 was not for me because I'm really bad at languages, but you had to take at least 2 years of something, so I started over with French. And so I was with the class below me. The man that proudly taught me We called him the Monsieur because we couldn't say the Monsieur. We called him the Monsieur, and he taught us words like mustard and I feel like chicken tonight and whoop Elia, whoop Elia. I knew that one from French class as well. But I reached out to him. He's teaching at a high school in Ashland, Kentucky, and I reached out to him, but I haven't heard back yet. He was one of my favorite teachers. He was very ineffective as a teacher, but he was a really fabulous person. So,
Have you ever like reconnected with any of your teachers on like social media, like
yeah.
since graduating?
My high school English teacher is hilarious. Her name is Mrs. Williams, and she's probably in her 80s now, and she has a gay son, and she has a very sharp wit. Like, I remember she taught, like, world literature, so we learned, like, Beowulf and Dante's Inferno. We read things like that. Not Inferno, the Seven Circles of Hell. Which one's, is that Inferno?
Yeah, that's
Divine
Inferno.
Comedy. Oh, we also had a semester of Shakespeare, so she bravely taught Appalachian teenagers Shakespeare. But one time she got into an argument with this kid. He was just being a dick. And the thing you have to know about him is that when he was a kid, him and his brother were playing with swords, and he got the tip of his ring finger cut off on one of his hands. So he had 4.5 fingers, right? And so they got into this argument, and she said, Mr. Metzler, I will not have a battle of wits with an unarmed man. And it was really funny because he's missing a finger. And that just, we all roared. Like, I can imagine how embarrassed he was. It was fucking hilarious. He never gave her shit after that. There was another teacher. She would pick people up and throw them out of the room, desk and all.
Damn.
Yeah, that was Mrs. Warren, or Miss Warren. She was single. She never married. And there were times, I swear, her desk meowed. She was famous for having all her cats.
Oh man.
Teachers are a fun bunch.
The stuff teachers used to get away with shit, man.
And my mom would never tell me who, but she said there were teachers at my school that would come into the shop. So that was interesting. I wanted to know who, but she wouldn't tell me.
Well, good for her. She wouldn't be very good at the business she was in if she didn't have discretion.
Yeah. The main guy on the radio station was a regular, like he was there every other day. The people that came in there, you'd be really surprised at who frequents a porn shop. Went to the drive-in last night.
I saw that. You watched
Masters of the Universe.
Oh.
He-Man. He-Man was a big guy in my formative years. That was my brother's like favorite army guy. It was always He-Man and She-Ra, and so his love of He-Man made me get things that were She-Ra, as you know, because you'd get things that were tangential to your brother or sister's favorite things. It was for the genre. It was pretty good. I'll give it that. There was a lot of suspended disbelief and lots of. I mean, but they're talking about an alien from a different planet and talking tigers.
See, I don't know anything about He-Man, really. I didn't watch the show growing up. I don't know anything about She-Ra, any of those things. Like those kinds of cartoons, I missed them somehow.
The highlight of the movie was Jared Leto as Skeletor. You can't even tell it's him. It's wild. Like I tried to like figure it out. But yeah, he did a great job in that film. I thought he was the highlight of the movie. The evil bastard.
Well, right. It's nice to see that, I guess. So I guess, I mean, and I can cut this out later if it doesn't work, but we could talk really quick about those segments because, we're fancy pants now in season 2. So we're official. The idea, I guess, was when we talked about this before, like shifting stuff back to, or shifting it away from being something we have to come up with on the fly and being pure improv, and more like something that we can incorporate into an episode, and then it plays out in the next episode, so that there's a little bit more prep involved. But I didn't want it to be adding more work, so I had ideas like stupid shit like show and tell, where each of us brings an item that we have, like a weird item, something unusual, and the other has to guess like what it is or why you have it or what its story is, and bonus points for creativity. Or we could each prepare a YouTube video that makes us laugh and show it and play it and react to it. We could prepare an anecdote of some kind on a theme. and then we could review a movie on there so that if it lands on that, then that's what we do.
Okay.
So I'm making a wheel that has all these things on it. Okay, so I've got show and tell, YouTube night, a story from social media that we saw recently, or something, or just something that made us laugh. I got book report, which is where we talk about a movie or a book or something like that that we read recently or that we're reading right now. Movie review.
I think they're great.
And I've got like a word game or trivia or something like that where we could either find something online or make a little trivia game or do Pictionary or something like that and find a way to make it work for audio only. So I'm just going to do trivia / word game. And then I've got Joke Thief, which, because I noticed sometimes we'll just like repeat jokes that we thought were funny. So if we land on this, then we go back and think of like some of a funny joke or something that someone told us that we heard. And then finally, I've got anecdote. So for anecdote and movie review, there would be a secondary wheel that would have the either the movies on it or the, what's it called, the theme for the anecdote,
I think those are all great ideas.
So we'll, at the end of every episode, we'll spin and see what we got to do for the next time.
That'll be fun.
Maybe like at least a little 10-15 minute segment that people can actually like know what's going to happen in the next episode, because they never do. They just show up and assume we're going to entertain them, which is a bold assumption.
I think we're entertaining.
Yeah, get down. I'm so tired of them lately.
I hear you. If I could ship PETA off to somewhere, I would. To like boarding school, she would be there.
They have boarding school for dogs. Like you send them off and they get like training and stuff.
She has trazodone that she takes for stressful situations, and we gave it to her last night for the movies, and she still was a barker. So it was she's done better on it before than she did last night. So we'll have to figure that out. Because I want to go. There's several movies coming this summer, and it's a lot of fun to go. So
I would go to the drive-in if I could. That sounds really fun. I used to go to the one in Corbin a lot.
we bought a little battery-operated radio, and then we bought a splitter and 2 sets of earbuds. And so we listened to because the car keeps turning off after like 15 minutes. And then you got to restart you got to restart the aux or whatever. And it's just a pain in the ass. You don't want to listen through your phone. You don't want to listen through anything like that. So we decided to put it directly in our ears. And we got the battery operated AM FM radio and the splitter and 2 headphones. So it cost us like $30 to invest in it. But if we're going to do it all summer, that's really worth it. And it sounded great last night.
Man. I heard there's a pronoun joke in it.
They show his nameplate, like that he's telling you that
Yeah.
he's this alien from outer space or whatever, and he's telling you that he's looking for this sword. And then you go to his work and it's like Adam, Glenn, he, him. It was funny. I noticed that.
That is pretty great.
Because he tries to mediate all the way through it. You probably would like it. It was a pretty good movie. And a lot of it is the imagination of a child. Like some of the main characters are like Ramhead and Fisto, because he has a big fist. And he's like, I do not fist people, like 100 times in the movie. There's some funny lines like that.
It's really becoming apparent that I know nothing about He-Man. Oh man, there's this YouTube series called Jizz.
Ew.
Where it's a guy who he edited new
course.
audio over Gem and the Holograms episodes. And he was just a gay dude who edited, gay sort of audio, or what's it called, dialogue, over Gem and the Holograms. And he actually became the editor for the Trixie and Katya show on YouTube. But that, like, I'm more likely to have seen that version. There's the He-Man version of the Four Non-Blondes, What's Going On. Have you seen that?
No.
So that I'm more likely to be familiar with what people have done to a popular culture thing than the actual thing.
I am so not up to date on drag queen culture or like all of that. I've seen maybe 2 episodes of RuPaul's Drag Race in my life, and I couldn't tell you anything about them. It's so over the top gay. It is just too much for me. I know that sounds crazy being a gay person, but I think it's so stereotypical that sometimes I think it hurts us. It gives people something to negatively speak about, in my opinion. I think it's a great culture. I think there's a lot of fun to be had in it. It's just not for me. I'm kind of a prude, I guess.
Well, and stuff like that actually, like that's the thing that people are like most likely to find respectable is drag queens on a TV show. They're it's through that like avenue of popular culture that straight people, like the straight world, is most likely to tolerate queerness. So like that becomes what they are most like they're not going to know anything about real queer people and their experiences and their needs, because what they think of when they think of gay is something like RuPaul's Drag Race, which isn't even exemplary of real drag because it's a reality show.
Maybe that's why I don't like it. I don't know. I don't like reality shows very much either, so that compounds it. But I don't like queer as folk
Yeah.
either. I don't like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, or just Queer Eye as it's now called. It's just too over the top, in your face gay culture. Like it feels like a performance to me, which of course it is.
Yeah.
It just feels inauthentic to me, and it rubs me the wrong way. And I don't like being represented by inauthenticity. That's a hard word to say.
It's a very specific part of queerness, and it's the part that always gets represented, which is the cis gay experience, like cis male gay experience or perspective. Something like Queer Eye is literally that. It's literally like them authoring the queer perspective. I don't even know. I'm with you. I'm not very versed in that one, and I've seen 2 or 3 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race because there were performers I was interested in, and I followed those performers' careers. So I am someone who is interested. I follow individual performers in whatever they're doing, and I go see them live, right? Because they go on tour, they perform, and that's where you see more like gender diversity, racial diversity. Although RuPaul's Drag Race has always been like something you have to give it flowers for is that it is racially diverse and always has been. That was the first place. It was like way early, like season 3 or 4, that I started to understand or even became aware of the differences between like Puerto Rican drag and Dominican drag and mainland American drag, and like the ways that, of course, they would be different, but it hadn't occurred to me that it would be. But like, they tried to do a drag king one, I think. I'm not sure if it's still on. I don't know if people watched it. I love the role that drag has played in the queer community and the real queer community. In a lot of ways, they're the folk bearers in a weird way. Like that's where a lot of the community's core culture is created. Like the way we literally speak came out of that environment. But if you're not somebody who has the identities centered in that type of thing, I could imagine not feeling very close to it.
I think something you have to also be mindful of when it comes to gay media and stuff is we know about the male gaze, but there's also, I think, a heterosexual gaze, because it's well known that straight women are really into things like heated rivalry or gay men being together and things like that. It's like really a fantasy for them or whatever it is. And so it's not just men consuming lesbian content, it is straight women consuming gay male content, which I find really interesting, you know? Somebody once, I know a lesbian who, we talked years ago, we talked about this, and she liked watching male on male porn because she said no women were being hurt. And I've always thought about that, you know?
Yeah, there's no like female degrading or subjectivity, and like you know that you're not at risk of that. So like
Yeah.
when you go in, and I had a kid, one of my students, who transitioned. We were talking about orientation, the kind of way a person's orientation is impacted by transitioning. Say you identified as a lesbian when you were living in a lesbian experience, but you transition, your gender is now different. What happens to your orientation? And there's quite a few trans men in particular who begin to be more comfortable dating men after they transition, whereas they would never have been before. And he said that it's because he was like dating a man as a woman meant that you were going to be treated like a woman, but dating a man as a man, you're treated as an equal, right? Like you don't have to negotiate with those minute details of how, I guess, straight couples are, things that straight couples deal with. It's like, oh, well.
That makes a lot of sense.
He said it doesn't feel as degrading to be intimate with or partnered with men now that I'm one of them. Yeah. Fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Which makes me wonder, like, was there then some desire there for men? Like that, they would have been maybe identified as bisexual. This is purely speculative. I'm really sorry if this is like somebody's experience and it sounds like we're just like hypothesizing about your real life. But I guess the root of what I'm trying to get at is like, does patriarchy, heterosexism, compulsory heterosexuality, all that stuff rob people of their true desires? Like, what if this person was attracted to men all along, but couldn't tolerate the role it put him in to be seen as a straight woman?
Yeah. As somebody who identifies as a lesbian and for a long time, there have absolutely been men that I have been attracted to in the last 30 years, right? But I would never initiate a relationship with a man because I just can't even imagine having a conversation with one more than twice, for the most part. So I don't think, I think when you think of the Kinsey scale and things like that, I think that's the best way to look at it. That, it's a spectrum and your emotional attraction is different than your physical attraction, which is different than your romantic attraction, right? There's all kinds of different ways that you can be attracted to somebody. And I don't think that you can separate them out very, very much. But yeah, I think that as a lesbian, it's totally normal because I have human eyes. I can look and see like Shamar Moore from Criminal Minds is a beautiful human being. And even as a lesbian, I would lick his abs because he is just beautiful, right? Like, so you have people like that, but I'm still as queer as they come. So I don't know what you would call me.
Yeah. Well, and fucking attraction it's not the laws of physics, right? There's no like, oh, I felt an attraction to this person, now I have to change how I identify. Like even identity is it's made up,
Yeah.
Like what do we need to do and say to have the experience we want to have out of life? And that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. And when it comes to men, like, a broken clock can be right twice a day. Some of them are fine. And all this comes from like thinking that attraction and gender are so concrete.
They're anything but. When you take one of my classes, especially in women's studies, if you take women's studies, you're going to learn that gender and race are socially constructed. And if you take my ethnic studies class, you're going to learn that race, and then as by way of example, gender is also, you're going to learn it either way. So it's a big point. And I think it really opens people up to the idea that maybe there isn't just one way to be. And I think that's a good lesson for kids to learn. I call them kids and they're 18, 19.
I do too, and I've got to stop it. But the whole social construct thing, I think people are distressed by that idea. At first, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who finds that upsetting, because on the one hand, it is frustrating because there's no good goddamn reason for some of the ways we have to be, right? There's no good excuse for something like inequality between genders or sexes. There's no good excuse for racism because the things are socially constructed. But like, on the other hand, people, that's not really what they worry about. I've had students be like, well, so these things are made up? Yeah, but made up doesn't mean imaginary. Made up means made by us. Socially constructed means made by a society. My house is socially constructed. I can't walk through its walls just because I know that about it. The horrifying part of a social construct is that we constructed it to confine us, to dictate how we live our lives.
The way that I explain it in class is I start off by saying, how many of you would think I am crazy if I said Canada is imaginary? And I get some laughs, right? And I'm like, but it absolutely is. I was like, what would happen if an alien came down and zap, all of the humans disappeared, right? What would happen to the boundary between Canada and the United States? It would physically still be there, but the representation of, oh, this is Canada and oh, this is the United States, those ideas are only ideas because we agree as a people to share those ideas. You know, it's like money. Just because we give it value, it has value. And people really seem to understand that it exists and it's real, but it's 100% made up. Because, you know, your boundary of the state of Ohio, people did that. Like we just agree it's a mass agreement that it's a fact, right? But it's really not. It's just a piece of land that's sitting there, and we put all kinds of meaning and attach meaning to it. They seem to do a good job with that. So
Yeah, if you can apply it to something that has been somehow less politicized, it's kind of wild that actual literal borders have been less politicized than something like race or gender.
you gotta. The only word I can think of is pussyfoot around. Like a lot of the stuff you have to make sure. I say several times a semester when I have white men in my class, I say, just remember we're not trying to make white men the villain in this scenario, right? We're talking about, as we agreed as a class, white men are the dominant paradigm in American culture. Just like if we were in Japanese, it would be Japanese men, right? We're in America, so white men are the dominant paradigm. And they get all of this power simply for being born into that demographic. And it's important to understand how that power is distributed, right? And that's how we understand race and gender as distributions of power, and equal distributions of power. And I think it's a really good way to look at it.
Like this issue we're having with the evangelical conservative Republican thing is, I think, it's a misunderstanding, but it's also an intentional obfuscation by that ruling class to create this misunderstanding of what Judeo-Christian society means. And I've taught, like, when I teach the difference between society and culture, it's like society is people who all agree about their socially constructed knowledge. Culture is what they create based on it. So America or the West or whatever, white European Western diaspora, however you need to slice that to get at what we're talking about here, is a Judeo-Christian society. That doesn't mean we're all Christians. It doesn't mean we all believe that God is real. It doesn't mean that we have all somehow agreed that that's how we should govern. What it means is we all know that story. And if somebody starts invoking Leviticus at me over being queer, I'm familiar with it. I'm literate in that. I don't believe in their God, but I know what they're trying to tell me. So that's why we're a Judeo-Christian society, because it is sort of the fabric of our morality, for better and for worse. Just because we are all literate in that doesn't mean that we need to appeal to it, that actually should be our own morality, right? That's a deficit of our society, not a strength.
Yeah.
But you can't disagree about something. Here's the thing about society. We wouldn't be able to argue about it or disagree with it if we didn't all know it. So, like your example of the alien. An alien wouldn't fight with me about whether the Judeo-Christian God is real, because they don't know what I'm talking about and they don't see why it would matter, because they aren't letting it dictate their lives the way we are.
I watched a really good movie this week, in my procrastination, called You Can Live Forever, I think is the name of it. It was a lesbian movie, two young girls, high school age, and they are in the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I learned a lot about the Jehovah's Witness sect from watching that movie that I didn't know. Just little things. Some of it has already escaped me. But the fact that they say they belong to the truth if they're part of the congregation. That she got in trouble for having a birthday, for example, that was a big deal. And like you said, I think where religion is so socially constructed, it's what people understand about. Like the whole birthday thing. Her and her friend, who was not a Jehovah's Witness, all he did was buy her a piece of cake in a diner for her birthday. And everybody in her church got really mad about it, right? That is some socially constructed nonsense. That's what we're talking about. It's their religion and really important to them. And I think that's one of the only things that most people know about Jehovah's Witnesses is that they don't like holidays. I don't understand why. I just know that they don't. I think that they consider them pagan or satanic or something. I don't know.
It could be like idolatry.
Yeah. I know when I worked at Amazon, I was on what was called the Attrition, Retention, and Morale Committee, the ARM committee. And we helped sponsor decorations all over the site for different holidays. And we had one girl who was a Jehovah's Witness, and for her team, they just didn't decorate, and it was really a downer. I just can't imagine forcing my religion on a whole group of people like that. Like, you can't exist around Halloween like this drawing of a ghost is really going to affect you. Like it just I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not a religious person and I don't understand that. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me.
I think the one of the fundamental things about religion is that you can't have a sense of play or humor or anything like that. Like everybody fucking celebrates Christmas. People who don't believe in Christianity, like white people who don't believe in Christianity, and literal members of other religions, right, celebrate Christmas. They manage to find a way to have fun, to make something good out of Christmas that is perhaps the religious holiday that they don't celebrate, you know, for like, say, like Jews or Muslims or Sikhs or whoever. But zealots aren't going to do that. Zealots can't find the fun in anything that isn't their own story. I just Googled it, and Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate certain holidays. We were both right, because it may have pagan roots or it promotes the worship of entities above Jehovah. I don't know anything about them. One of my friends' parents were JWs, and whenever I was over at his house, they would have like their Watchtower magazines and stuff. They were the 144,000 people, right?
No, that's the Mormons. I'm pretty sure.
No, it's Jehovah's Witnesses, but maybe it's Mormons too. But yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses believe that exactly 144,000 faithful Christians will be resurrected to heaven. I'm going to ask them.
Such a specific number.
I know, right? Okay, no, Mormons, it's not 144,000, but there is a restriction, though. It's just not that number. So yeah, that's one of the few things I remember. It's like, okay, so y'all have to like Rochambeau for it. We're standing outside the pearly gates playing rock, paper, scissors.
My luck, I'd be 144,001.
Yeah. Like, is that supposed to make me want to join your religion? Because it doesn't. I assume
Right?
there's already been that many people died in the world, in the history of the world.
Like the ideology presented in the movie suggested that they believe that there's going to be a large war of some kind and there's going to be a new what they call system afterwards. A new organization of culture and society, I guess. And that everyone that had ever died will come back to life and be pain free and live happily. I didn't know that was their belief. Like I said, I learned a lot about the Jehovah's Witnesses by watching, an hour and a half movie. Things I didn't even know what I didn't know. It's one of those things. I didn't even know what I didn't know.
So all right, they've got two classes. It's called the two classes of the saved. So that's the 144,000 are considered spiritual Israelites who have the heavenly hope of reigning over the universe from heaven. Wow, so they become God? And then there's the great crowd, or the other sheep, an innumerable, ever-growing group of faithful followers who have the earthly hope. After surviving Armageddon, they will live forever in a restored physical paradise on earth, ruled over by Jesus and the 144,000 in heaven. So if you're a believer, then you get to stay on earth forever. You become immortal on earth after Armageddon. That sounds like a punishment to me.
Yeah. One thing I did notice was the hymns because they showed them being in their I don't know if you call it temple or what you call it in their religious gathering, and the songs were just so dead on their religion. Like we believe that Jehovah is the leader of our 144,000. Like it was
Oh,
there
man.
was yeah it was hilarious in my opinion.
Written by ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's funny.
Do you know how many I don't know if this is true. I'm going to say it and then I'm going to Google it and see if it's true. I think that there are 55,000 denominations of Christianity in America.
Wow.
Because
That would be over 1,000 in each state.
45,000. So there are 45,000 Christian denominations due to schisms and splintering of Protestant beliefs, which is crazy to me.
That's a lot of passing plate.
Everything I find out about this stuff makes me more suspicious of it.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like I've said before, I wish I could give myself to some higher belief, but I'm too suspicious. So many kisses I'm getting over here. Oh. Who's just handing out kisses left and right over here?
Mine are awfully cuddly. It's because it's hot. I don't know why they want to cuddle when it's hot.
Yeah. Our apartment does not directly face the sun, so we are able to keep it pretty cool in here. Plus, it's always cooler here than everywhere else. So we keep it at 68.
I went down a kind of a rabbit hole looking up this week's sponsor, but I found a Reddit thread called Putting on Airs, which I don't know anything else about. Or this Reddit is called, this sub is called Putting on Airs, but the thread on it is basically the question is, what's the most redneck thing you've ever done? So I just like was sitting here reading this whole thread, and some of them, they're just kind of relatable, funny things. A lot of them are, but so like this person, I fisted a steer.
I once did it on a four-wheeler.
Oh, nice. But this one here, like, you ever like read the thing, like you're scrolling on TikTok or something or on social media and you read the thing and you're like, okay, that's it. I have to close the tab and go do something because that's the funniest thing I'll see in this session of doom scrolling. And so this person said, we were doing some work for this stupid rich guy in Mississippi that had a giraffe and a zebra. The giraffe got into the zebra's yard and kept trying to fuck it. We had to use four-wheelers and an air horn to scare the giraffe back into its yard so it wouldn't butt fuck the zebra. Yeah, that is pretty redneck.
Have you ever run from the law?
Yes. I've told this story already on here, though. It was with the potato gun.
Oh, yeah. Behind the bingo hall. One time we were coming through Ironton, Ohio, and Hanging Rock, which is the little right beside it. And it's Hanging Rock is known. Just the cops you go 55 through there. You don't speed through there. And we were enjoying some herbal refreshments and driving down through there. And a cop sees us, and I'm speeding, of course. And he flips around and comes following us. So I take the exit, and I saw a like driveway. So I pulled up in this driveway of this off the road little church, and we saw the cop fly right past us on that road. So he was following us, and we got away in that little churchyard. We turned around, went back the other direction, and got the hell out of there. That's the only time I actively ran from the cops.
That time is the only one I can remember in a vehicle. We used to, like, rollerblading was big when I was in middle school and high school. And the kids at Williamsburg, some of them were that skater kid type of thing. And so I did that for a little while. And we would go and skate places. This was back when, and maybe they still do this. Kids, if you're a skater now, like, are there still signs everywhere that say no rollerblading or skateboarding in sidewalks and parking lots and stuff? But they were back then, and so we would go skating on the Cumberland College campus. It's University of the Cumberlands now, but back then it was Cumberland College, and they would chase us all over that campus. But I don't like, there's that separation because they weren't real police, and so like if we were on campus, they could try to get us, and if they did, they could call the police, but they couldn't call them until we left or something like that. And so like we would leave campus, take them off, and then like run to whoever's car and leave. And like it's stuff like that. Like we would go through that campus and like gun the engine and like blow smoke and try to wake everybody up. Like we were total dicks to that college, and they were right across the street from our high school. So they just had no defense against us.
The police at the universities, they really don't have a lot of power, which I follow a lot of random pages on the internet. And one of them on Facebook is a parent page for the university, which I find interesting because they always have answers to questions and things I hadn't thought of before, and it keeps me up to date on what's happening with students and things like that. And they'll be like, I don't know where to park. There's no parking. We have to park so far away. I'm like, unless your car is actually registered to your student, park wherever the fuck you want. because they can ticket you and there's nothing it doesn't go into the Ohio system. It's just a campus ticket. I mean, if you get enough of them, you could get a boot or whatever. But if you're just doing it on moving in day, just park there for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, in most campuses, like they have a system for dealing with parking on move-in day. Like
yeah.
most campuses that have an actual number of students coming in, every fucking staff member on campus had to sign up for at least one shift of move-in day, and we would, the parents would have to sign up for a 15-minute slot. They could come and park right in front of the door. This was at EKU. They had the best system I've ever seen.
It sounds like what BG does.
If you don't park, as long as you park in an actual spot, like if you do something stupid, like we have called people to get towed before because they blocked something, right? They parked somewhere that it isn't even supposed to be any parking. Like you'll get towed for that shit. But yeah, just like you say, like these aren't real tickets.
Yeah.
Like faculty and staff are more likely to get a ticket than you.
Yeah. Well, and there would be some incentive to pay it if you're faculty, you know what I mean? Because your car is going to be on campus a lot, and if you don't pay it, you're eventually going to have it come off your bursar bill, or they're going to get their money one way or the other. You know what I mean? But if you are just somebody who doesn't have any connection to the college besides your kid, and if your tags aren't like connected to that kid, do whatever you want. There's no repercussions whatsoever. You might get towed if you park at a really shitty place, but I mean, just be respectful and you're going to be fine. I just don't understand people who won't bend little rules here and there, things that have no consequence. One time I was driving with a friend in my car, and I don't know if you remember the PNC Bank in BG. It has one side an entrance and one side an exit, and the exit side has 2 parking spots there. And if you're coming down Main Street and you pull in the exit, you can pull right into that parking spot, and it's not a big deal, right? But my friend freaked out because I went in the exit. He was like, "You can't do that," and blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Dude, it's fine. There was nobody even in the drive-thru, Like, it doesn't hurt anything." I don't understand people who can't be flexible, I guess is my point.
Like moral rigidity that should only exist in some really extreme situations. I found out that I think this was the case. Well, this was the case at 2 universities I've worked at. If you call public safety for something, they're going to check for warrants. We found that out the hard way at orientation at EKU. A student, somebody, I don't know what happened. They locked their keys in their car or something like that. We called public safety and they ran them for warrants, and they had one. Oh. And so this kid came to orientation and their parent or whoever went to jail.
That's crazy.
Let's listen. Let's hear from this week's sponsor, and then I'll tell you why. I was looking it up because I found some other fun stuff. This week's episode of Queer Necks is brought to you by Topics.net. This website started out with noble intentions, trying to be a respectable aggregator for local news and community announcements. Then the founders gave the fine people of the rural working class an anonymous forum and every single zip code in America, and it instantly turned into the information gossip superhighway. Back when Facebook was only for college kids and long before Nextdoor, Topics was the place where small-town civility went to die. It was a digital map of the country where nobody had to sign their name, creating a modern-day telephone party line fueled by pure, unadulterated malice and dial-up internet. When you logged into your local Topics page, you skipped the news articles entirely and went straight to the forums. You were looking at a wall of text where people accused their neighbors of stealing lawnmowers, exposed who was cheating on who behind the car wash, detailed exactly which local high school football coach was allegedly running a pill clinic out of his garage. It was a beautiful, terrifying wasteland of defamation where the local sheriff spent half his shift trying to figure out who Hollerboy88 actually was in real life. And for the queer kids trying to survive the mid-2000s, Topics was a hazardous but educational ecosystem. It was a place where people weaponized rumor, but it was also the first place you saw proof that the town was deeply obsessed with what happened behind closed doors. You learned how to read between the lines of the local slander just to figure out who else might be flying under the radar. This was a masterclass in human nature, and it proved that if you give a small-town resident a username like Guest304 and a blank text box, they will drop a piece of information that will divide a local church congregation into 3 separate factions by Sunday morning. So, topics: the now defunct digital graveyard where the grudges of 2008 are preserved in amber forever. And now back to Queer Necks, where we are still trying to undo the reputational damage caused by an anonymous thread from our sophomore year of high school.
That was a great one.
Did you have a topics where you were?
Oh yeah, there were topics everywhere. I was in Huntington at that point. Yeah, there was topics. That's when I moved from Huntington to Cincinnati or to Hamilton, and there was one there too. They were wild.
Yeah. I used to haunt one of this dude who was so fascinatingly weird. He was this guy who thought that he was entitled a beautiful girlfriend because his dad was rich. He would just come out and say this stuff, and he wasn't trolling. That's the thing, because we had a mutual in real life. And people would come on there to call him stupid and tell him he didn't know what he was talking about, and he would just argue with them all day. And finally, I was like, this is this man's life. And he had a public Facebook. He still has a public Facebook, and occasionally I'll just go and look and see what he's up to. And he's posted on there a couple of times. I miss the old topic site. I bet you do. That was all you did. The Irvin, Kentucky.
The one in Portsmouth, they had somebody posted a question, do you think Jonas is gay? And like, God love his soul, Jonas was one of those people that you could see was gay from 100 paces. You know, like the way he moved, the way he did his hair, the way he spoke, the way he moved his hands, the way he dressed, the way he walked. Like everything about him just screamed queer. And it made me laugh then, and it still makes me laugh now. Who was so confused that they didn't know that Jonas was gay? Like,
they had to make a topics forum about it.
Yeah, like no shit, he's gay. Like, you know what I mean? Your gaydar is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, and there were never any about me because I wasn't from there. But I don't know if it was a Williamsburg one or Corbin. There was a thread there was a forum about David after he died. And I was like, all right, I'm just not going to be on topics anymore. But it got taken down because people did sue it for defamation. And topics had to actually give up the IP addresses of people who participated in a thread defaming this couple that sued. And so that's where topics went. It like got shut down. But you can still go and look at some of the old forums on the Wayback Machine, which is what I was doing when I found that redneck thread.
The internet graveyard is an interesting place.
I like to watch YouTube videos or like icebergs about weird defunct sites or things like that, like the forgotten things of the early internet.
Do you ever see the videos from that Maddie McTech guy that says, here's an interesting website you didn't know about? I did one the other day called Drive In Listen, like driveandlisten.com. Basically, you can Google Maps hop and drive through traffic through different cities. And while at the same time, you have a whole list of their local radio stations. So you can drive around these cities and listen to their radio stations all over the world.
Where does he find all these websites?
I can find out, but I spent like a good 45 minutes on that website yesterday. It was fun. Driving through Hong Kong, listening to Chinese music.
That's very cool. There used to be a user on TikTok, a creator from West Virginia, would just fuck around on Google Maps, get high and fuck around on Google Maps, and sort of narrate what she was looking at. Some of the best content ever. And listeners, y'all probably know who I'm talking about. And her handle was Sinister Pond Babe, because she would call everything, she's like, oh, that's sinister. And she was a trans woman, so she had that like that West Virginia gay sort of like patois is not the right word because that's specific to a region, but you know what I'm getting at, right? Like just that way of speaking. I haven't seen her. I wish she had a YouTube channel so that I didn't have to just go on TikTok. If you're listening, Sinister Pond Babe, make a YouTube channel. Oh, I would die if she was listening to us. But she has rules that like she can live. There's signs you can live somewhere if it has like a family Mexican restaurant. She's like anywhere that there's a Mexican restaurant, you can be fine.
Well, there's one in Lucasville, so I don't know about that. I couldn't live there, man. It was real.
Yeah, there's one in Morris.
Yeah, it's Sonora's, and they were pretty good. We ate there. We ate takeout quite more often than we ate in the actual restaurant. But Lucasville is growing by leaps and bounds. They put in a highway that is a byway. It basically diverts you completely around Portsmouth. It used to be you would go down 23 straight down from Columbus in a straight line, and then you would basically make a left at the Ohio River, and then you could go to Huntington or Ironton or all the way up through there. And instead of doing that, they now have a cut between where you go from Lucasville to Wheelersburg. It used to be a 40-minute trip, and now it's a 20-minute trip. And you can completely bypass all of Portsmouth. And with the end of it is in Lucasville, and so they've got a Taco Bell now, and they've got a Big B Coffee now, and a Mexican restaurant, and yeah, things are starting to pop up down there. Though I did notice the U.S. Bank was shut down, which good on them. U.S. Bank is the shittiest bank out there. IMO.
I wonder what's going to happen to these little towns with how the economy's going.
One good thing about down there is the food is still expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than in some of the big areas. Like one time we went to Tudor's and we got like 2 biscuits and some apples and a soda, and it came to like $13 or something. And we were like, "Are you sure? Did you get everything on the like you got everything?" Like it's $30 to eat anywhere here in Toledo for 2 people. It was wild. So that's one good thing they have going for them. But on the other hand, there's no freaking jobs. So what are you supposed to do? You don't have money. You don't have. I mean, there's things to buy, but no money to buy it with. And it's such a food desert. There's one Walmart in all of Scioto County. There's 2 Krogers in all of Scioto County. There's just so few everything around town. And those are the only grocery stores. There used to be a food fair and there used to be BG Blackburns, but both they were independent grocery stores and they both shut down. It's crazy to see how stuff changes over time.
Yeah. Did you bring a noun of Appalachian interest?
I sure did. It's a bit of a somber one today. Let me see here.
We'll have to be extra funny next week.
Yes. Well, it was unplanned. So, all right, let me get my glasses here. All right, this week's noun of Appalachian interest is the Marshall University Memorial Fountain in Huntington, West Virginia. Before we get going, let me start by acknowledging that this noun is not funny. No, this is one of those nouns where Appalachia asks for quiet first because the story matters too much to rush past it. Why does this memorial exist? Well, on November 14, 1970, on a rainy hillside in Wayne County, West Virginia, the lives of 75 men and women were lost to the worst single air tragedy in NCAA sports history. Among the losses were nearly the entire Marshall University football team, coaches, flight crew, numerous fans, and supporters. The event marked a boundary by which the entire community would forever measure time, before or after the crash. The Marshall Memorial Fountain sits on the Marshall University campus beside the Memorial Student Center, where it honors the 75 people who died. The fountain was dedicated in November of 1972, 2 years after the crash. It was designed by artist Harry Bertoya, and it is more than 13 feet tall and weighs about 6,500 pounds. This fountain is not some little decorative water feature like you'd see outside a dentist's office, next to 3 fake rocks and a sad shrub. This thing has presence. It stands there, proud and tall, like it knows what it is holding. And what it is holding is a precious memory. Every year on November 14th, Marshall holds a memorial ceremony at the fountain. A wreath is laid, the names are remembered, and then the water is turned off and it stays off until the following spring. Now that's the part that gets me, because a fountain is supposed to move. That's the whole job. The water rises, it falls, it splashes, and it keeps going. But in Marshall, once a year, the movement stops. The silence becomes part of the memorial. And that is all very Appalachian to me. Lord knows people love to flatten us into sadness and poverty, like that's our whole story. But Appalachia knows what it means to keep living from within a loss. Around here, memory is not locked away somewhere distant. It stays close and shows up in the places people pass every day, and in the stories which begin with, "Now I don't know if you ever heard about this, but..." The memorial artist said he wanted the fountain to honor life, not just death, with water that rises and falls, and suggests growth, immortality, and eternity, and that is the part that makes it more than just a monument. It's not only saying, here's what happened, it is saying, here's who we still carry. This is how we love and honor. And for Marshall, that fountain is also tied to identity. You cannot really talk about Marshall without talking about "We Are Marshall," and that phrase is bigger than just a movie title, though if you haven't seen the movie, it's a great flick filmed in Huntington. No, "We Are Marshall" is a community motto declaring that we are still here. We are not replacing the people we lost, but we are carrying them with us now and forever. So I think that is why this noun matters so much. The memorial fountain is not just a fountain. It is a ritual. It is a physical manifestation of grief. It is school spirit without the tacky foam finger part. It is a public promise. Memory sometimes keeps a schedule. Every November 14th, people gather. Every year, the water stops. Every spring, the water returns. The cycle endures. And there's something beautiful about that process because it does not pretend grief ends. It just says grief can move with the seasons. Sometimes football is more than the game, and the Marshall Memorial Fountain remembers this well. That's your noun of Appalachian interest.
Wow. I didn't know that. I just looked it up. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a big thing they cover it in the news every year. They really still honor the memory of those people. It happened in Canova, West Virginia, where the airport is. It's a tiny little airport, but it was raining that night, and they were on their way back, and they missed the landing strip and hit a hill, and it killed everybody on the plane.
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, you've seen it?
No, I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, when I lived there, they were filming it. One time, we were on our way to work at Amazon, and we were coming down 3rd Avenue or 4th Avenue. I can't remember, 4th Avenue. And Matthew McConaughey was standing beside the street in his 70s outfit because it was from the 70s, right? So he was dressed in 70s apparel. And he was on a cell phone by a dumpster. And I screamed like a stray girl and nearly ran my car off the road because I was like, oh my God. But then there was a couple of scenes that we actually watched being filmed. At the beginning of the movie, there's a couple of kids who are hurt on the football team, and so they don't go on the trip. And they're at the movies, and then there's all the sirens and all the stuff that happens, and they come running out of the movie theater. And we were in a parking garage across the street watching them film the whole thing. And there's we know people in the extras and like all of the it's very. They go to Jim's Spaghetti, which I've eaten at several times. It's really neat. They do a good job representing Huntington. If you've not seen it, I recommend it.
You could add it to the wheel. So somebody get the web administrator of the University of Marshall on the phone for me, please, because this website is a fucking disaster. Every link I click on is dead. Tell me about the fountain.
That seems right on brand for Marshall.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's got 4 different sizes font.
When I moved to Huntington, I applied there, but never went. I never signed up for classes or whatever. Shanna went there, so that was where she spent her first 2 years of college, but she finished at Miami with me. My neighbor's kid got a karaoke machine. Can you imagine how excited I am about that?
Go out there and join them.
It's better than the high school band that lived in my front yard.
What's your karaoke song?
Me and Bobby motherfucking McGee. Busted flat in Baton Rouge.
The Janice version or the Chris Christopherson version?
Oh, the Janice version, for sure.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend would get up and sing that like every time we went to the Midnight Cowboy. Or the Midnight Rodeo is what it was called, the Midnight Rodeo. They had a bull that we would ride. It was hilarious. It was a good time. That's where we went with Mom when she let us pick the bar.
Did you ever do karaoke in Bowling Green?
Nope. The only bar I was ever in Bowling Green was Grumpy Dave's, and I went to trivia.
Well, that's where it was. They had a karaoke night too. We went up there. I was there infrequently. It was always because of I made some friends that had graduated from the program prior, and they still lived in town, and they would always want to go there. So yeah, we went to a karaoke night, and Eric was there with us, and he's like a really good singer, which I didn't know. But also, the song he chose to do was Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. And he was so dead on good at it that we thought the radio was playing. Like, he didn't tell us he was going to do it. I just noticed he was gone and Ring of Fire was playing, and it sounded like the Johnny Cash version. And so then I just looked over and I was like, oh my God, that's Eric singing this song. And so our whole table just got up and ran over there. And we were like, you didn't tell us you could do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't think I've done it since, I haven't done it since I transitioned, but I remember doing Fiona Apple.
That's a good one, like Criminal.
I did that one. I remember having a lot of fun doing her cover of that Beatles song. What is that song? She did it for the Pleasantville soundtrack.
I just watched that the other night.
Nothing's gonna change my world or whatever. But I don't know if that's the name.
Change my world.
Of the universe. Yeah. Like her cover of that. It's a really good cover. So I did that at karaoke once it was at Hooters. Karaoke at Hooters was awesome. There, like was it Thursday night party scene for you when you were in college?
I didn't party a lot. My friends and I smoked pot, and so we would do that basically any night of the week. We didn't have a lot of money, and drinking has never really been my thing. So, and plus going to bars, I was not really fat at that time. I was a bigger girl. So at Miami, I was considered obese because I was like a size 14 or whatever. So I didn't go out a lot. Plus, I wasn't part of the fraternity or sorority life, which was so big at Miami. So my answer is no. I didn't go out a lot.
So you don't know. Well, at EKU, it was Thursday. At most colleges, it's Thursdays because kids go home on weekends. EKU was a suitcase college back in the day. So they would
Yeah.
all go out and do their partying on Thursdays. And so because of that, all the businesses would have their Thursday night programming to, try to cultivate repeat customers. So the bowling alley, for instance, it was 50 cent game night. And Hooters had 50 cent wings and karaoke. So me and the kids from my dorm, we would go to Hooters and have wings there. Maybe Richmond, it was a better environment for Thursday night programming that didn't involve drinking, because also like that was when it changed from being able to get into a club at 18. You had to be 21. So somebody had to take over stuff for the people that couldn't drink.
Yeah. Oxford was so small, we didn't have a lot of places you could
Yeah.
go. We either went to the bars or the restaurants were either like Wendy's or so upscale you had to dress up to go there. There was like no in between. So,
Yeah. That was the best thing about Richmond, was all the opportunities to socialize. Like going to school at EKU was a very social experience. EKU used to be famous for being a party school. I don't think it is anymore.
BGSU is definitely a party school still, well known for it.
I remember living across the street I lived downtown, and
Yeah.
the worst day of the whole year was St. Patrick's Day. Those monsters would get up at 6 a.m. and put on their
Yeah.
green and go down to the Stone's Throw and drink their breakfast. And like Stone's Throw would open early. They would do like an Irish breakfast, right, with like the sauerkraut and all that stuff. And then they would give them the beer, and they would, like, some of them, they'd be falling out in the street by 10 a.m.
They had Green Beer Day at Miami because Miami wisened up and would traditionally make spring break over St. Patrick's holiday. That way
Yeah.
that they wouldn't be in town. So they came up with Green Beer Day. They have T-shirts and everything for Green Beer Day, and the bars open at like 4 in the morning, and people are drunk all of their classes, and everybody has a green tongue, and it's a whole thing. It's disgusting. People passed out in the bushes.
I used to, so when I worked at SIU, I would, on the high drinking days, of which there were many, like they had drinking, like it was not just, they had unofficial Halloween, real Halloween, St. Patty's Day, and then they had these things called Polar and Solar Bear, which were just, I think they were at the equinoxes, and they're just downtown parties. And I would just go for my walks in the middle of the day and kind of be on the lookout for the ones that there's a certain way to time a day like that wrong, and you don't know you've done it until it's too late. So they would be out there like laying down under a bush asleep or something, like trying to, because it's also a mobile party, like you going from house to house. So I'm like, I guess I'll just go out and look for them because these kids can't be trusted. Well, let's see what kind of game or whatever we're going to do for next week.
All right.
Give this feel of what have ye. Oh, okay. So we landed on book report, or I expanded it to just mean like media report. So I'll probably give a report on whatever YouTube deep dive I watched most recently. In fact, last night I stayed up late watching an interesting one. So it can be anything. It can be literally the book you're reading, or you could give us a presentation about your dissertation chapter you're working on.
Yeah, that wouldn't put everyone to sleep.
I trust you to be funny.
I'm working on chapter 2 right now, so.
Yeah, I'll try to make whatever silly thing I watched or read last sound entertaining to people.
I watch a lot of movies when Shanna's at work, so I'll see what I find this week. Too bad I already gave you the Jehovah's Witness movie and the Masters of the Universe today. So, oh no, I'll have to watch a movie.
Yeah, right. Oi, what are you gonna do the rest of the day?
Shannon wants to do something, so I'll probably get a shower and get myself cleaned up, and I don't know what we'll get into. Probably go find something to eat and maybe go to a park or something. We were working on Rue with a leash, and she's been doing so much better. We got her to pee outside a couple of times. That was really good, so she's coming along pretty quickly. So we'll probably go to the park again today. What about you?
I want to leave the house as well. I've been stuck in analysis paralysis lately, and I'm prone to those anytime I have more than a couple things to get done at a time. I just kind of get stuck. So haven't left the house in a couple days, so I'm going to make sure I do that. Go for a walk or a bike ride.
Yeah.
One of our YouTube followers, person who keeps up with us there, Techno Pop Tart, had a theory about why the Foxy Merkins was called, why the Merkin thing was there. And so what they said was that because a Merkin is a facade, it's like a fake version of a real thing that you use to put on top of it to kind of like create an illusion, hide who you really are, which I think there's definitely something in there, like something to that. Do you remember, this is very cultural studies, so like this not Jean, god damn it, what's his name, Baudrillard, I don't remember Baudrillard's first name, had this concept of the simulacra, which is like a thing that is so hyper real that it becomes the version of a thing that we think of, even though it's not the real version of it. And so that's the Merkin, is kind of like the hyper real illusion of what is in a vagina. I don't know. And in this paper, I'm going to write that paper. I'm going to cite Techno Pop Tart and submit it to the Women's Studies Journal.
Just cite your cat. That's what that's what a lot of authors do.
That's
there was
a real
guy
thing,
who wrote
yeah.
a paper and he wrote "we" in his paper, and he was a single author, and so they made him like add a co-author, and he added his cat. Totally what I would do.
Right. Me too. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for hanging out with us another week. Literally just hanging out. I woke up and got on mic. So if we didn't sound organized, you take what you can get, okay? We do our best. And we show up because we love ye. Hope you're out there doing fun Pride things or doing whatever it is you do to observe Pride. And fuck the man.
Yeehaw! Fuck the law.
Say hi to your mom and them.
Bye.